To date, several individuals and companies have been legally obligated to publicly apologize and retract their lies about me, such as Daily Beast, James Carville, and Harper Collins, UK.
Legally obligated. Not asked nicely, not pressured, legally obligated. Melania Trump just sat down on the record and named the exact people and organizations that tried to tie her to Jeffrey Epstein. And she didn't just deny it. She told you who had to publicly walk it back in court. This is what it looks like when someone stops letting the lies sit. For years, her name has been whispered alongside Epstein's in political circles and across social media. Fake images, fabricated timelines, people claiming Epstein introduced her to Donald Trump, people claiming she was tangled up in his network. And here's the thing about that. None of it was ever backed up by evidence. Not a court document, not a deposition, not a victim statement, not a single FBI interview. Her name doesn't appear in any of that, and that matters because in a case as extensively documented as the Epstein investigation, silence in the record is not an accident. But the smears kept coming anyway, because in modern politics, a repeated lie has a life of its own. So Melania Trump decided to do something about it. And what she said next, in full detail, changes the entire framing of this story.
To date, several individuals and companies have been legally obligated to publicly apologize and retract their lies about me, such as Daily Beast, James Carville, and Harper Collins, UK. Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized. Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth.
Let's go through that carefully, because there's a lot packed in there, and some of it is more significant than it sounds on the surface. She says she met Donald Trump in 1998. She says Epstein didn't enter the picture until the year 2000, and even then, it was at a shared social event. That is a direct rebuttal to one of the most widely shared claims about her, that Epstein was somehow involved in their relationship. She acknowledges the Maxwell email. She doesn't dodge it. She calls it what she says it was, a casual, polite reply. No different from the kind of note anyone in those social circles might send back. And if you're looking for that email to be some kind of smoking gun, she's telling you point blank, it isn't. Then she goes further. She says her name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews. That's not vague denial language. That's a specific, falsifiable claim. And given how thoroughly the Epstein investigation was documented, the absence of her name in that record is actually meaningful. She was never on his plane, never visited the island, not a participant, not a witness. Now, let's be clear. This is Melania Trump's account of events. It is her statement. Commentary alone does not prove or disprove anything. What we can say is that she is now on record in specific detail with specific legal wins already behind her. She has already made the Daily Beast, James Carville, and Harper Collins UK retract and apologize. That is not nothing. And then, this is where it gets interesting, she doesn't just defend herself and walk away. She uses the final section of the statement to do something you might not have expected. She calls on Congress to act, not to investigate her. She's already dealt with that. She calls on Congress to give Epstein's actual victims a public hearing, sworn testimony on the record, entered into the congressional record. Think about that for a second. The person who spent years being falsely linked to this case is now the one demanding accountability for the people who were actually victimized. She says, give these women their day. Let them speak under oath. Put it on the permanent record. And she frames it bluntly. Epstein was not alone. Several powerful male executives resigned after this became public. She doesn't name them. She doesn't claim guilt. But she says the truth isn't fully out yet. And the way you get it out is through sworn testimony in front of Congress. Here's the takeaway from this statement. Melania Trump isn't a victim in this story, and she isn't playing defense anymore. She came forward with receipts, legal victories, specific names, a documented timeline, and she left a challenge on the table for everyone who hasn't been held accountable yet. The Epstein story is not over. The names that matter most may not have been spoken yet. And if Melania Trump has anything to say about it, and apparently she does, Congress is the next arena where that truth gets pulled out into the open. If you made it this far, you already know this story is bigger than most people are treating it. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to keep following how this develops, hit subscribe. We're going to keep watching this one closely.